Carla. I am a 44-year-old mother of one son. I am from Philadelphia. I am a therapist licensed in PA. I work with clients who are dealing with issues surrounding depression, anxiety, grief and loss issues, self-worth and self-esteem issues, which is more so newer, a specialty I've been focusing on as of recently, and family of origin issues.
Right. How long you been doing that for?
I've been in the counseling field for 22 years, and my private practice started in 2017.
Oh, nice. So what made you want to get into that? Like, was you like that little girl who used to like lay her dolls on a table and counsel your dolls? Like, was that you, or like what made you want to step into this profession?
Yeah, so when I was a little girl, I wanted to be an actress more so than anything, and I would probably set my Barbie dolls up and create these love stories and movies. I was kind of an old soul as a kid when I think back, but I did want to work with children. I might have saw it on TV. I've heard about it. Like, I wanted to be a child psychologist. That's what I wanted to do, and that just really fell by the wayside. I stopped thinking about it, and when I started CCP, the nursing program that I was going to try to get in, they had a waiting list. So I couldn't do the program, and I joined the behavioral health and human service program, and I loved it. And I realized that's where I needed to be. That's where I belonged.
Oh, that's amazing. What are some of the challenges that you face in your profession now? Like, what are some of the challenges and some of the, we'll just start from there.
The one challenge that I can think of is where to go next and what to do next. Because I do work for myself, it's a little different than just going to a job and maybe people telling you what you're going to do and kind of moving up in a company. So if I could think of a challenge, it would be kind of just, again, what to do next, believing in myself, pushing myself, putting myself out there more, and just, again, trying to go to the top, really.
Right. I can imagine.
And not being afraid to go to the top. Yeah.
I can imagine. One of the things that I have noticed about I guess in social media is the trend is that everyone is using the word healing and toxic. And now it's another word that's floating around called diabolical. You know, everybody is using the word diabolical.
Okay.
And the one thing that I'm afraid is that because these words are buzzing, that they're going to take mental health and therapy for granted. It's going to become a trend, and people are not going to actually really truly appreciate it for what it's worth. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can see how somebody could think that. And then I do notice on social media, we talk about healing a lot. We hear narcissist, we hear toxic. We do hear a lot of buzzwords. And I love it, even if we might use them in the wrong context at times. I do love that we're still talking about it and normalizing it, because I know for sure in this line of work, in my line of work, I've learned from people, and I know that there are people sitting back and they want to get help, and they are just truly afraid. They don't know what it looks like. They haven't heard anybody in their families do it before. So as long as we're talking about it and normalizing it, I think that's awesome. But there is a big difference between getting help and just learning about it from the internet or from books. There's one thing for me to read about getting help, and there's a difference of me going and sitting in front of somebody and being vulnerable and really working on my stuff. And in addition to the session, going outside and working on myself is a huge difference.
Right.
And I know from being on both sides that it's a big difference.
So what are some of the hurdles you think that most people have when they want to consider therapy? You know, first, let me ask you this question. Who do you typically work with? Is it men? Is it women? Like, more
women. I probably have about 94%, if I'm thinking off the top of my head, female clients, and then I have male clients. Yeah.
So what are some of the hurdles when involving yourself with women? Like, what are some of the most hurdles and some of the challenges that they may have when it comes to finding therapy?
I would think that the cost, finding a good therapist, finding somebody that's a good fit. Again, it might be like they don't take my insurance. Well, I found a therapist that seems like a good fit, but she doesn't take my insurance, and I can't afford to pay the fee that she's charging. And we have to charge a certain fee because of the emotional and mental labor of our work. We can't charge $20, $30. It wouldn't make sense if you're a real grown up with bills. So sometimes that's challenging when you go find one and you're like, oh, I have to pay them. Like, can I afford it? Or just, again, being able to find one that you feel like is a good fit for you. That's not always super easy for people.
Right. No, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, I said this on this platform a couple of times that I too am in therapy. Okay. And the reason, one of my reasons for putting that out there is because I would like to encourage other men to go. I think therapy is one of them places that a lot of us men, we frowned upon because it wasn't popular. No one ever really talked to us about expressing our feelings. And there oftentimes that when we do express our feelings out as men, the common theme will be choke it up and just get over it.
Absolutely.
So what can we do to change that narrative?
One thing we can do is what you're doing. Like, you talk openly about it. There's nothing I feel like there's nothing like hearing somebody that looks like you and you know that, oh, they're not crazy. Zachary is normal in a sense of he's not walking around talking to himself, because sometimes we have that stigma associated with going to therapy. Something really has to be wrong. Right. You have to be in crisis, and you don't. You can just want to work through things. You can just want somebody that doesn't know you to really let your hair down and talk about the issues and process your life and your experiences. So hearing other people, I have clients that are like, I advocate for therapy and I absolutely love it, especially my brown clients. Because they're like, I tell anybody, and you want my therapist number? And I'm like, awesome, because if I can see that and I can see that you go and there's no shame and you feel like you're doing better as a result of it, that's amazing. Right. That's amazing.
What made me want to go is because for those who know, and I put this out on this platform before as well, I served 7 years in prison. So when I came home, it was a lot of things I knew that would be different. And it was a lot of things that while inside that I, saw and experienced, and that I felt like it was important for me to talk about. I didn't want to be the kind of guy who gets a second chance to live his best life and throw it all away because I'm angry.
Absolutely.
Because I throw it all away because I don't know how to process my emotions. So that was one of the things that got me. But when dealing with men, like, how do you establish a sense of trust, and how do you, what are your processes when it comes to dealing with your men clients?
So like a male who is a little skeptical and he doesn't know, I think it just takes time for the client to get to know you and build that rapport. It doesn't, you can, as a therapist, I don't want to do too much. I'm not trying to oversell or overprove myself. I'm just getting to know the person and just being as authentic as I can. I'm not trying to show up like I know all the answers. Even with my females, I don't know all the answers. I have my own struggle in my own life, but I'm here and this is a space for you. So again, just being as authentic as possible and encouraging them to, I think when people can feel that you're not being phony and you're not overdoing it, that they feel comfortable. You want the person to feel comfortable talking about their process.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, with that being said, how do you detox? What is your self-care?
I'm in my own therapy right now at this time. I've been in and out of therapy since I was in my 20s. So I've taken breaks. I had different, life circumstances. I'm like, all right, I want to talk to somebody about this. This is big, right? I had different times that I went. My therapist right now is the best, amazing. But besides therapy, where I kind of get to really, let my hair down and really talk, it's nothing like a Friday evening and I just try to clear my schedule and just get in the bed and just chill. That for me is my peace. I look forward to that. When I'm done with my day, it's like the week has caught up with me and I just chill. And what I learned during the pandemic is me being in nature, sitting in the grass, going down the park and just really, for me, I had to learn it. There's one thing for me to know it and read it and talk to clients about it. How's your self-care? What are you doing for self-care? And I would say I drink my water. I try to exercise. I fall off. Sometimes I get back on. I know things. I read. I know things that work. But during the pandemic, I was able to really sit there because there wasn't much to do. And I was like, wow, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not stressing about anything. I'm not thinking about insurance claims. I'm literally in the here and now. Talk about mindfulness. I'm here. So that for me is really important to have that time and to be in nature, even if it's just a blanket and some grass. I am good with that.
No. That's true. And I appreciate that as well. Even as a photographer, there's times where I'll just go to somewhere like a park or something, just take some random pictures. And I'm not a park photographer. I don't take pictures and stuff like that, scenery and stuff like that. But it's really relaxing because I'm
Absolutely.
taking it with no intentions of trying to impress nobody, anything like that. And I need that time for myself as well.
Absolutely. I absolutely advocate for people to take, when a client tells me they don't have any time, that's when I'm really pushing them, like, make a little time. Like, don't wait until you're like burnt out and you're stressed out to the point where you're like, oh my God, right? I don't have anything to give anybody, even myself. So definitely. And I love to eat out every once in a while. Like I like to like go somewhere and eat really good. And that's something I give myself to look forward to.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Are you a book reader? Like, do you read books?
Not as much as I should.
Right. Okay.
Not as much as I should. The last book that I read and I didn't finish it was Atomic Habits.
Right.
And
I do remember.
it has motivated me, and I'm only in chapter 3, and it motivated me so much within 3 chapters that I was like, you would think I read the whole book, but it has got me to be like more structure and getting things off the checklist daily. Like I'm more motivated. So sometimes books do that for me. I'll read it and I'm like, whoa. And that, I appreciate a good book, but that's every once in a while.
Right.
Because I'm reading for sessions, in between sessions sometimes. I'm like preparing, whether it be a worksheet or just say somebody has imposter syndrome. That's something that I do deal with because I deal with anxious folks, but I don't, I have to skim over some things sometimes. I have to prepare. So reading is something I could like do better with.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, what are some tangible things that a person could do to detox? Or like you said, even with imposter syndrome, I know for me, that's something that's real in this profession, especially for someone like me who changed the course of their life. And it was like, now I'm feeling kind of weird about it and, even as entrepreneurs, we got to sell ourselves and put ourselves out there. That's not always the easiest thing to do in the world.
Absolutely right.
So what are some of the tangible things you think that someone could do to help get over that or get over that initial fear or something like that?
As it relates to imposter syndrome, you're saying. And so I think that just knowing that it comes, like, especially if you don't have the blueprint, like if your family didn't, some families, dad was a doctor, grandpa was a doctor. It's like, I'm a doctor. They already filling in their bones before they become a doctor. If you didn't have that and I didn't have that, it's like entrepreneurship, get a job that's secure. Don't be trying to do too much. So I think just knowing that it is a thing that a lot of people do experience, because it happens, but not allowing it to stop you. Like, do it scared. Still move forward. Like, all right, I'm aware of what's happening. I'm a little nervous. I'm meeting Zachary. He has this title or he's doing this. Or I'm doing this today. And do I belong here? Or like, who do I think I am? But not allowing it to stop me, still moving forward and doing it anyway, doing it scared.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I also understand the more I became vocal about it, the more I started meeting more people who was also vocal about it. Like you said before, when they see you doing something, it's kind of like, hey, it's not that bad. It's not as scary. I remember LeBron James, he had a whole show. I don't think it lasted that long, but the whole show was just basically him feeling as if he had imposter syndrome.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, it was with him, Mike Epps, and a couple. It was a good show, though. I wish it would have stayed on a little bit longer, but, it's the way it works. Question, do you have a mentor? Like, is there someone that who do you look to for strength?
I have a really close best friend who I can talk about, we can talk about. Like, there is no faking. There's no, like, I'm trying to act like, it's like really like, girl, like we really talk, and I appreciate that. That's a safe space for me. And then I have my own therapist who is we're like really a good fit. We're Christian. She know all about me. Like, she know all about me. Different than maybe my therapist when I was 20 something. Like, she knows all about me. And she's serving as a mentor at this point. And just thank God for her, because again, I'm able to get what I need. I've always believed in a therapist, seeing a therapist, but at this point in my life, therapy hits different. You get more experience, you know more, you do more. And it's like just having a good fit is everything. Somebody you really feel comfortable with and you respect. And
that makes a lot of sense. Switching gears a little bit. For those who don't know, Miss McLeary here, she is a author. She has a book currently out right now called Filter for What. It's on Amazon, correct? Yes. Now, I have not I'm full transparency. I have not been able to see the book or read the book yet, but when that thing comes on audio, I want it. Okay, so we going
another
go from
person
there.
pushing audio. I'd probably need to do that.
You need to get the audio. Okay, but can you tell us a little bit about the book Filter for What?
Filter for What is a modern guide for women to improve feelings of self-esteem and self-worth. The title came from seeing women just not have a lot of filter on, a lot of makeup, like just, they might even be in the sun and they're like, filter for what? And I was thinking of the idea that in this time, in this day and time, we show up and we need to look a certain way. We gotta, you know, I find myself even doing that. It's easy to compare myself to a therapist who has this perfectly polished page, or right, like they have all these accolades, and I quickly snap out of it. But just this day and age of comparing ourselves to other people. So when I called it a modern guide, I was like, well, if it's modern, I have to talk about the real things that are happening in real time. And that's the pressure to appear a certain way, the pressure of plastic surgery, the pressure of appearing again to have it all together.
Right.
And we don't really have it all together because I work with people and I talk to people for a living. So I know that how people are dealing with things and the pressure that they feel. And I thought this would be a perfect way to contribute something that'll be here when I'm gone, right? To have something. And then I knew I wouldn't work with everybody. I'm not going to work with everybody, right? I'm only going to see a certain amount of people in my lifetime, but I could have something that people could pick up and maybe benefit from. And I believe in it wholeheartedly that people, so I got reviews and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, wow, they really feel it. They get it. And I talk about self-acceptance, plastic surgery. I have a chapter on relationships. Like the chapter is called Dealing with These Men, but it's a chapter on relationships, self-care, boundaries, all the things that we could be doing so that we feel, again, good enough, worthy, deserving, like all of those things that can help a woman feel that way. And men have read it too when they liked it. So
no, it definitely looked like an interesting read. As one who really admires, you know, the graphic design of it, the cover spoke to me. It was like, wow. And when hearing you talk about it, with that being said, because I have a little girl as well, so I want to also know, like, from how would a woman in your position who are telling women that, you know, you could be beautiful without the filter and you don't could be beautiful, and so many women that suffer with that, what exactly would you say to them? Like, what exactly, you know, like, how would you address that for women that may not feel they're most beautiful unless they take off the filter? And I want to talk in real time, like you said, in modern time, like a woman who says, when I put on my filter, I get 100 likes. When I go natural, I get 3. So how do you address that? Or how would you talk to that person?
So if a woman is struggling, first of all, she has to be struggling with it. It has to not be working for her, because if it's working for her, cool, right? But if you know that, wow, I really don't want to go to the market anymore without my face beat completely, right? And I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, that's kind of a lot of pressure I put on myself. So for people that it doesn't work for, to get in touch with the reality that we all struggle. Like there is, what do they call it? I think they say there's perfection and imperfections. Like we all have them. Sometimes we can mess up a good thing trying to appear so perfect. I've did that before. I want to appear so perfect that I'm like, that's not even real. It would have been good if I would have just showed up as me with my flaws, right? And my imperfections. So to just embrace, you know, your flaws. And that doesn't mean you don't work on yourself and try to be your best self. That doesn't mean you don't ever try to look good. But if I just want to run to the market, it's okay if I just throw my hair in a pony and my face doesn't, it's okay. If I see you, I can still feel just as good as I would if I had like been done up, right?
Definitely.
So there is not just like, oh, just don't care about how you look. Or just present things and just like they can be a mess. It's not that. It's just the pressure that we put on ourselves to appear perfect could literally be killing us, because then I'm overthinking so much. Every step I take, everything I say has to be polished. It has to be perfect. And that's a lot of pressure. And I work with people where they're like, why am I so anxious? Yeah, you're anxious because you're overthinking everything.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true.
You won't even take risks because you know it needs to be perfect.
No, I have involved myself with women who have taken even extra to make sure that everything was exactly where it needs to be. And what I noticed was it was like, okay, they're trying to create lightning again. It's like they want it to be exactly how it once was when it was before the first time. Okay. And it's like, no, you know, that was good then, but now we going out now, and it's like they want that same feeling that they might have had the first time, and they're driving themselves crazy, and they can't even appreciate their true beauty, what's in front of them now.
And that's the thing, to be clear, there is nothing wrong with wanting to show up as your best self.
Right.
But to what extent? Like if you're overdoing it, meaning the mental strain,
right,
meaning the anxiety or the depression as a result of it didn't look as, I don't think it was. And again, sometimes that comes from our childhood because it was already embedded in us early that we're not good enough, we're not this. So we're carrying those messages. And that's where the book comes in, that let's look below the surface and not just look good, but what else is going on? How do you feel? Do you feel like you deserve that good life? Do you feel like you deserve that good partner? Do you, or do you feel like, well, how am I here? Why am I here? Do I deserve this kind of thing?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of
feel
sense.
deserving of it.
You touched briefly on plastic surgery, and that seems to be a trend nowadays.
Right.
So let me ask this question. Let me start from here. Do you think those who get plastic surgery should go to therapy first?
No, I don't. I don't think they should. I wouldn't say like, you want to get plastic surgery, you need to see a therapist, but it wouldn't hurt for most people to see a therapist. So if I'm going to have surgery on my body, that's trauma to the body. I'm making a decision. I'm not sick. I don't need to get a leg amputated. There's nothing wrong, but there's something wrong with how I look. So I'm going to get trauma to the body. That's what's happening. It wouldn't be a bad idea to talk to somebody, figure out my expectations, where my head is at before I do it.
That makes a lot of sense.
It wouldn't be a bad idea. Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. With that being said, do you think that the women who do do you think that there should be like a sense of like even responsibility for those who perform the surgery to see women that are getting like those to excessive amounts and stuff, that they should pull them back and say, hey, you need to slow down with this? I mean,
yeah. That, like if she's like turning into Michael Jackson, right? It's like, wait a minute, like, can somebody have a conversation? Right. Well, I noticed with the two doctors, it was Botch. Was it Botch? They would have conversations with them because sometimes it wasn't even medically safe for some of the things the person was asking. So, they were dealing with body dysmorphia because they were like more, and the doctor's like, whoa, I don't even feel comfortable performing that. So they're far gone and they might need some help. They need some help to talk about what are they trying to achieve? What am I doing? Like now I'm unrealistic and I'm telling a doctor to do something that might hurt me so that I can achieve this idea that I'm perfect. Or even look like somebody else. Not even some people's ideas like I want to look like Kim Kardashian. You want to look like a whole nother person. It's not even you want to like fix up. Because again, I'm not knocking plastic surgery. So when a woman gets a certain age and she wants to do certain things, cool, that happens. But I want to look like a whole nother person. I don't want to look like me. That it couldn't hurt to like have a conversation about that with somebody. Yes. Not just a yes person, like, yes, do whatever. No, somebody that cares. And it's like, hey, what's going on?
No, that's a fact, because I feel like a lot of people, especially when this becomes like the new standard of beauty and women are like, oh, this is what they want to see. And this is what I'm going to make my body look like. Let me ask you this question. As a man, right? And I want to use my as a man in this position, I want to use this platform responsible.
Okay.
So my question to you would be, what is it that we as men could do to help women feel more appreciative for who they are? So they don't need to feel the need to need to even have surgery and everything else. Is there anything that we as men could do to help women feel a little bit more comfortable? As
I said before, it's an inside job. A man is not going to come along and he's not going to give you something that is called self-esteem or self-worth. That's an individual. You have to work on that. That is self-worth, self-esteem. You have to work on yourself, your ideas, your beliefs, right? A man can, like I said before, he can give it and then he can take it. So then so they all like me and now they don't like me. So I'm left with, I need more validation. Where are the people? But if I work on cultivating a relationship with myself beyond looks, just liking myself, what do I like? What do I really do well? Do I have some hobbies? Do I have some things that I actually like to do or I do well? Getting in touch with yourself so you're not relying on outside external forces to make you feel like you're good enough. right? So you tell me it, and then the next day you don't like it. So I have to change if you don't like it, if I'm relying on you. So it's definitely an inside job. Men can just be men. They're human beings with their own struggles and dealing with their, listen, men have to even do the internal work. So they're not relying on what social media or society says is what they should be doing and how they should look and what they should drive, like that kind of thing.
No, that's a fact, because that's where they say, toxic masculinity is derived from. It's the feeling of we want to drive a big truck and beat our chests and everything else because we want to live up to some, masculine standard. But a lot of us, if we're going to be honest, we really do have some insecurities and some things that we're working on as well.
All humans.
So we're humans.
Right. All humans have it.
Switching gears just a little bit more, I want to talk to you about something I've seen on social media. Okay. It was two things. The first thing was there was a post that says that women, they said they would much rather be in a situation of, they would rather be in the woods with a bear than to be in the woods with a man. Okay. And I asked this before, but I want to ask you because you are a therapist, okay, and get your thoughts of to why the women would much rather choose to be with the bear than be with the man. Now, this is a real question, and I explained to you why it's something that's weighing heavy on me. So I just want to get your initial thoughts on it first.
Again, I would imagine my first thought is that women have been let down by men so much that they would prefer to be with a bear in the woods. I would think automatically a man because I could communicate with him. An animal, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. So I'm thinking just being let down in their past traumas, and they're like, men suck. Men are terrible. I need a bear. Do not give me a man. He's going to let me down in the woods. He's going to, somehow I'm going to come up short. He's not going to listen to me. He's not going to understand me if I'm afraid or, yeah. Right. So they've been let down so much by men.
I think so too. Cause like I said, initially it was a blow off like, oh, these women are, something is wrong. Like what's going on? But after you start reading the comments and you start seeing the reoccurring themes, you're like, wow, we as men dropped the ball in a lot of different areas. That's not to say we don't got our fair share. Some of the men. Well, some of us.
Yeah, you got some men that are doing the right thing.
Absolutes, right. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, what can we as men, as a one who want to use this platform, because a part of the reason why I wanted to use this platform is so we can have honest, authentic conversations about hard issues. A lot of times when you turn on the social media platforms, all they doing is tearing each other down. They just ripping each other apart.
Right.
So I wanted to use this as an opportunity so we could have a conversation in which we could actually hear and listen to some of the grievances that each other have.
Right.
So what can we do as men to change that narrative?
Just listen to the women and why they're saying what they're saying. Listen to the women. If I hear a woman saying she would rather have a bear in the woods with me, why? What are they saying? What have we been doing? What have men? Because even if you meet a woman and she went through something with a man before you want to kind of know what happened. Because I want to know you. I want to know my partner. I want to know what their past was like and what they've been through, right? I want to understand them. Right. So it's just listening, just like we need to listen to, let's listen to the opposite sex and hear what they've experienced. Okay. Yeah. What us as humans can do a better job with when we're in a relationship.
No, and that's a fact too. I think far too often that we're just, they're telling their grievances, the women are explaining their grievances, the men are explaining their grievances, but no one is actually listening. No one is actually, people are venting, but no one is actually listening.
Right.
The second thing I wanted to talk to you about was the thing with Shawnee O'Neal recently came out. And she said that she's coming out with a tell-all book. And one of the inserts in the book was saying how she didn't actually love Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, that she, and people are looking back like she married this man, she gave this man children. Mm-hmm. And as a man, it's frightening to hear a woman say something like that. It is absolutely frightening to be with that. Everyone says, well, men should pick better women. And not saying Shaq was the best man at all. That's not, because I don't want to get into that he said, she said conversation. Right. And it's really not even about them. It's just that this is the reason why a lot of men choose to not open up and are vulnerable with women.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk about it from that angle, not necessarily them but what they represent, here was a man who had literally everything at his disposal, and here was a woman who we could make an argument that maybe just played her position, and it makes a lot of men looking at that become fearful.
Again, when we're on social media or we're hearing things, we're not looking at the whole picture. You got to consider the whole picture. This man he admitted to like being unfaithful a lot through their marriage. And when I heard her speak on it, I heard her say that she was, and I don't know if she said, I don't know if she said I didn't love him, and she could have said that, but she said I was more in love. It wasn't about, it's almost like she was questioning, was I more in love with the idea of having this family and making this work with somebody? Because people do stay in these relationships that be a hot mess, or these marriages, and it's about the image, I'm working, or just sometimes we want to like fight for something, and it's not working, and we killing ourselves and we're fighting for it to work. So I feel like that was more of what she was speaking to.
Okay.
I would have to hear her again, because I actually heard her on the Tamara Hall show today. I heard her, and I was like, oh, if you look at the whole what she's saying in context, it's that I was more in love with the idea of making this work with my family, with the children's father, right? Like with my husband. And again, I think just thinking of sometimes when we have children and they're older, we got to be mindful what we're putting out there, because they can hear it, right?
Right.
I don't think anybody wants to hear their mom say they didn't love the dad, right?
Right.
But I do believe she was more so saying that she was more in love with the idea. And I think that can happen to any of us.
Okay.
Things fizzle out. People aren't who we thought they would be. We get married thinking, oh, he'll change, or she'll change. She'll start to cook. He'll stop cheating. And then you find yourself like, I want to fight for this. We live together. We have assets. Like, we have all these things, and we need to make this work. And sometimes it's not working.
And sometimes it's just not working.
It's not working. But I wanted to speak on the fear that when you said men are like, oh my goodness, what? So she could have just been playing her part. Like, that wasn't real. That's scary. We're all scared to get hurt. We're all scared. That speaks to like, we're all afraid of getting hurt. And there's a risk involved with getting with somebody and marrying them and being with them. There is a risk. Somebody can hurt you. Somebody can hurt me. They probably have hurt you. They have hurt me.
Right.
But there's a risk involved, right? If I want something, there's a risk. You could hurt me. But I want to see, how this thing goes and see if we can make it work, because I want, the love or the happiness or the companionship.
Right.
So, again, I think when I hear men and women tearing each other down, I think of the fear that I hear. Well, women going to do this because you don't know, because they've been through that. Right. And all women aren't going to be like your girl. And the woman is saying, because these men, they, and it's like, well, the men you dated, right?
Right.
And then we'll say, well, you dated trash. That's on you. That's your fault. You chose trash. Here, back to the listening, but let me listen to this person and hear what they've been through, their experience, and not just shame them or blame them for somebody playing them. Right. You chose that nigga. You chose that person. Well, I didn't know he was going, or I didn't know she was going to do this. Like, we was flowing. Everything was, so, I've been traumatized, or I've been hurt. And then you telling me you to blame for that. You chose him. It's like, we are so rough. Some of us are so rough on each other. And it's a result of hurt and then fear. Of somebody hurting us. So we're not going to give our heart. We just going to bash the opposite sex, or we're going to do it I have an angle when I meet people. Right. And now we're not even showing up like ourselves. Right. Yeah, because we're afraid to get hurt. No, we're afraid for somebody to get us.
Right. Yeah. No, that's real, and I appreciate that perspective. Thank you so much for that. Mm-hmm. In closing, please tell people where they can find the book.
You can find it on Amazon. It's called Filter for What. There is a hashtag, so it's hashtag Filter for What, but the F is capital. The two F's are capital, and the what is capital W. So Filter for What. You got to use capital W, capital W. I'm sorry, capital W, capital F. And capital, oh my God. Filter for What? Capital F, and capital W. Hashtag Filter for What? Capital F, and capital W on Amazon.
It was a pleasure having you. I thank you. I appreciate you. I really appreciate your insight. You opened my mind up on a few things. So I want to say thank you for that. This is the Future is Female podcast. I'm Zachary King, and we out.